I'm Gary Hunter, a marketing professor.
So satiation, of course, is one of the components, the satiation of expectations that consumers have for products, or that business customers have for business suppliers. That satiation is also combined with competition, because competition is often kind of introducing new products that may do better at delivering against the benefits sought by different markets. So satiation and competition sort of make marketing decision-making very dynamic. And so when I'm talking about that, that's more kind of you can think about that from sort of an evolutionary theory perspective. That is that as competition or as organizations and their competitions offer new and improved innovations, these are new variations that are introduced to markets, and the variations then are often kind of adapted by the different markets and then ultimately selected and sustained or retained by markets over time. So it implies essentially for marketers that marketers have to be dynamic in their process, and they have to go back and reanalyze different markets over time to figure out, is our product currently achieving in its markets what we would like for it to achieve? So thinking about satisfaction, customer satisfaction is not really a one and done deal. So what we know from this is that organizations, in order to achieve economic sustainability, must offer something of value. So this is the essence of what a value proposition is. A value proposition is really their promise of what a brand is going to offer, what it's going to deliver to a particular target market. So when I talk about value, I'm often talking about basically benefits less cost to the particular target market. So in developing a value proposition, you're trying to figure out what's the highest in terms of the benefits offered, or the most important benefit that a particular target market might want, and what is your competitive advantage at delivering to those different markets. So you're often trying to get to these points of difference. How do you differ versus your competition in figuring out where you want to be in terms of your value proposition and what's most important to offer to your different target markets. So in a broad sense, there are kind of a few basic domains of interest to marketers. And you might think about those domains very much in the way of saying, okay, marketers are often trying to figure out, is there some opportunity? Is there some market that exists for the offerings or the products that we might develop? And so within this course, we've thought about, when we're thinking about different opportunities, we've thought about different relevant factors, and those are essentially the 5 C's. When we're looking at marketing analytics, the marketing analytics are things like STP, segmenting, targeting, differentiation, and positioning, that's designed to align the marketing strategies, what you're trying to accomplish in different markets, with these different opportunities. And so the marketing strategies then we've defined in the course is essentially having 2 components. One of those components being the target market, and the other component being the marketing mix. So essentially in your strategies, you're trying to create value propositions that essentially match and fit your marketing mix. You design your marketing mix to fit each chosen target market. Okay, so a lot of times marketers use these hierarchies of effect models. They're response hierarchy models. So these models are basically trying to say there are different aspects of customers, and they go through different stages that are important to our achieving repeat purchase or achieving an initial purchase on a particular product. So marketers are often saying, okay, what are these stages, and how might I think about them very broadly? So those stages are where I've talked a lot in class about science and art. And much of science kind of falls into the cognitive side. Much of art sort of falls into the affective side. And then there's a behavioral side that is often the result of the cognitive and the interaction between the cognitive and the affective components. So these models are models like this, and you'll be exposed to different models over your careers probably. But the model that I've used the most in class has been the ADA model. That's the simplest model. So that is establishing awareness, working through, which is a cognitive trait, working through the interest and desire into the action, which may be purchasing the product or having a more favorable association with a particular brand. So what's important about these models is to understand that not all markets kind of work in the same directions. So you're often trying to think about a particular market and trying to decide, is this a market that works more on impulse buying? So an impulse buying market would be a market that goes primarily based on, the sale of candy bars would be an impulse buy. So if candy bars are kind of positioned at the checkout counter in a grocery store, kids will often be drawn to those particular candy bars. They'll do the behavior first, that is, they kind of grab the candy bar, their parents buy those, and then the kids will taste them, have some emotive response to, is that good candy or bad candy? And then they learn from, I didn't like that or I did like that sort of thing. So it can work in absolutely the opposite direction, or it can start more in the middle part with affective. But thinking about the different stages that different target markets go through is a helpful way of thinking about how do you improve your marketing results. Okay, so competitors becomes an important balance. So you can't focus totally on your customers. If you focus totally on your customers, you often miss out on the countering force, which is your competitors, who of course are also trying to focus on those same things. So with competitors, one of the key steps is who are your competitors, and identifying the correct set of competitors becomes important before you start kind of analyzing what are their strengths and weaknesses, and how can you differentiate your offering, how can you make your product different from theirs. So as you get into competitors, this slide is essentially a slide that kind of gives a way to get away from what's called marketing myopia. So marketing myopia is when you're kind of too nearsighted and you focus too much on the most obvious competitors. So myopia for Toyota might be to focus only on Honda. So the idea of this slide is to kind of say, how do you broaden from just to focus on who are the immediate brands with which you're competing, to think about the broader industry, who in the industry might Toyota compete with. So they might, as they broaden out, that might be versus Mercedes. As they go even broader, it might be versus all other forms of transportation. So as they broaden out and think about generic competition, that's at the broadest level. And you're often trying in that case to say, okay, we're competing against other other large-scale kind of purchase events like durables, furniture, new homes, those types of things. It's a generic competition for the consumers or the customers' dollars. So this slide is essentially designed to kind of help think about, are you too narrow or are you too broad in defining your competition, and to work back and forth to try to achieve some optimal definition of different competitors. Once you've identified the competitors, then you're often trying to think about, well, what are their strategies? So by their strategies, of course, I'm talking about the same things that I was talking about earlier, the 4 Ps. What are they trying to do with their marketing mix? How are they trying to create the value in the different target markets? Who are their target markets? Those same types of issues are essentially what you're trying to flush out about your competitors. You also want to know of your competitors, what are their objectives? Are they trying to achieve short-term or long-term growth? Are they focused on market share growth, cash flow? Are they trying to become a leader in a particular area? Is it technological leadership? Is it service leadership? Those types of things are kind of ways of thinking about different competitors. When you think about their competitors' strengths and weaknesses, one of the important concepts or a good concept to use is to think about where do your competitors stand, not just in market share, so you're getting what's the economic share your competitors have, but where do they stand in terms of share of mind? That is more kind of the cognitive comparisons that customers in the target market might have. And where do they stand in terms of share of heart, which would be more the affective considerations that target markets might have about different products. So share of mind, which is the cognitive side, and share of heart, the affective side, are important to marketers as they are often seen as lead indicators of market share. So sometimes the battle for mind and heart become quite important to different marketing campaigns. You also want to think about kind of how strong are your competitors. Are they kind of dominant competitors, or are they weak and non-viable competitors as you're analyzing competition on strengths and weaknesses? And then getting to the stage as you've had some time to kind of see how competitors react. You're often trying to figure out how are they going to react. Some competitors are very laid back, so a laid back competitor doesn't react at all. Some competitors are selective, so they may only react to your changes in price, but they don't react to increased investments in promotions. Or they may be very aggressive, so they may react to the very aggressive way to whatever your activities are. Of course, the most difficult competitors are those that are more stochastic. So that's kind of a competitor that behaves in more of a random or non-predictable manner. So trying to get an understanding of your competitors, how they might react, can help you with kind of your laying out your marketing plans and what your steps will be in different markets as you develop and those markets evolve. Okay, on the company side, in terms of thinking about depth there, this is often about trying to integrate market opportunities. And those market opportunities are often identified by an analysis of what's going on in the context. So what's happening with the macro environmental trends, what's happening with macro technical trends or macro social trends, and having a good understanding of the context and changes that are occurring in the context can be helpful in trying to figure out what opportunities do those changes create. So as they create different opportunities, you're often kind of thinking about, are those opportunities that fit with sort of what our company's trying to achieve? Does it fit with our company's resources? Does it fit with our objectives? Does it fit with our skills? And is there a way to kind of put that together to develop a plan for sustainable profit and growth, or to fit it together so that we can achieve the particular objectives that our firm has? So company is also, you can think about companies as we have in the class as but based on the brands that they have. So it may be that they have brand equity objectives. A company objective might be to build equity in its brand. One of the alternative heuristics we talked about is how do we build equity in our customers. So it could be that you could take the same sort of thing and instead of just being brand equity, focus as well on customer equity. So how do you move them, if it's a brand equity focus, how do you move them up on the affective side, the emotional side? How do you create the imagery and the feelings that you feel are desirable? On the reasoning or the rational side, how do you kind of move them through performance and judgments so that in the end your brands have resonance, they resonate with different customers, they have meaning in ways that kind of emphasize your points of difference and in ways that kind of help you to kind of convey your marketing strategy to achieve the brand objectives you have. When thinking about collaborators, a good way to think about collaborators is to think about channels of distribution and to think about logistics. So you might think about different institutions and different functions, right? So who are the institutions, who are the different organizations that you might partner with, and who are the different, what are the different functions that need to be achieved as your products kind of make its way through a supply chain to the markets you've targeted. So the basic objective a lot of times with place is trying to get the right product available in the right quantities, in the right locations at the right time. So it's basically trying to figure out when exactly your customers are going to want these products and how do we set up the right distribution and delivery systems to get our products to those customers at those times. Collaborators can, so in a sense, collaborators can be thought of in terms of division of specialization of labor. So this is sort of an older way to think about collaborators. What are the activities that gain the maximum benefits of specialization? Divide those based on who has the core capabilities and the competencies that you feel you'd like a collaborator to do while you kind of accept the core capabilities your organization has. And it may be, how do you kind of increase productivity by using the strengths of others. So sometimes you get, there are things that your firm does well and things that your collaborators do well, and you may want to focus on, for example, if you're Procter & Gamble, you may want to focus on making products as opposed to doing the retail operations. So kind of figuring out along the way which task do you want to take on and which task would you like to have collaborators with. So collaborations in business-to-business relationships have a lot of different dimensions. Some of those dimensions are kind of information sharing or operational linkages. Some are more cooperation. Some are like legal bonds. So the interface between businesses, one business being a supplier here and one business being a customer, has changed quite dramatically over the years. So thinking about those much less as a dyad between a salesperson and a buyer, but more as interfaces that cut across multiple functional areas, and how do you kind of merge those firms together in a way that makes the relationship one that is mutually beneficial to both the supplier and the customer. Okay, so context, in terms of thinking about depth on context, context refers to the direct marketing environment is really kind of the company and the competition. So context is looking more at the external marketing environment. And the external marketing environment, again, is defined by the PEST acronym. So that's what's going on in terms of the political and legal environment, what's going on in terms of the economic environment, the social and cultural, and the technological environment. So again, that's the simple heuristic is PEST to kind of think about context, and then to kind of use that as a framework to kind of get some depth, or the third dimension from the slide on that dimension of market opportunity analysis.
All the best with your efforts to master marketing and sales. I'm Gary Hunter, and I hope you have a great day.